Hello, DevOps people. I'm finally back. I'm so sorry for missing my previously scheduled sessions. I had a few difficulties last week on Tuesday. My son had a playdate here in the house, and I really didn't want to risk that you would hear more of the kids than from me. And on Thursday, I made a very rookie mistake of clicking the upgrade button when OBS offered it to me. And after the upgrade, OBS kept crashing within seconds or at least minutes, and I couldn't get it to work anymore. And on top of that, OBS had annoyed me quite a few times in recent weeks. It lost settings, and I always had to restore them manually and things like that. And when it started crashing on me all the time last week, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And now I'm using another different software. I'm using Game Show. I was very happy to discover that the company Telestream, which I knew from their screencasting software, ScreenFlow, and their professional broadcasting software, Wirecast, that they actually do a streaming software that is very affordable. And so I tried out Game Show, and that's what I'm using now to stream. Setting it up took me less than an hour, and I had everything back what I had in OBS. And my trust in Telestream is actually a bit higher than in the people who are developing OBS. If only for the fact that Telestream gets paid to actually fix bugs and deal and resolve issues. This has one tiny side effect. Game Show can only stream either to Twitch or to YouTube. So I had to stop using Restream.io to stream to both platforms simultaneously. Game Show, at least at the moment, doesn't support streaming to Restream. I might be able to coax it to do it, but actually it wouldn't work anyway, because since after I started my stream on Thursday, OBS crashed on within a few minutes, I guess, still on the standby screen. YouTube struck me with a community guidelines violation. I'm not exactly sure why, but I assume because my stream only consisted of a single picture showing my Twitter and website URL. And since then, I'm barred from streaming live to YouTube. So it's not that big of an issue that Game Show can't stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time anyway. Which leaves me back streaming on Twitch, which makes things a bit more simple anyway. Okay, so before we start, as usual, I'm very happy to have you here, and I'm inviting you to take part in the chat. Simply say hi, or ask questions if things that I'm doing aren't clear to you, if I should explain something a bit better, or if you simply would like to tell me about things you are doing at the moment. To be honest, when I did my live stream the week before last week, I felt a bit lonely because the chat was almost completely empty, and I'd very much prefer it to be in a two-way communication with you. So don't feel shy, I don't bite, just pop into the chat and say hi. Alright, so let's get started. as usual, I'm working on my open source project Jupyter, which is supposed to be a management software for servers and other IT infrastructure. The background is that at my company we have a few hundred hosts running our web hosting platform, and managing all these servers and virtual instances and stuff becomes quite complicated, especially if you start using different infrastructure providers. So for example, imagine you have a few droplets running at DigitalOcean and a few Amazon EC2 instances and things like that. Each of these platform providers gives you a dashboard or some kind of user interface, but you don't have a unified interface that displays you everything you have and everything you need to manage. And that's the direction I'm going into with Jupyter. And I've already started doing a few things. Let's simply go into VS Code here. And I realized the reason why I'm struggling a bit with continuing from these models that I've created is that I made a mistake. And so let me explain. One core principle of building clean code is postponing decisions until you can't get around them anymore. And my mistake was trying to build a data structure, creating these models, resource attribute, type attribute, resource type, and resource. I made decisions before they actually needed to be made, and I kind of painted myself into a mental corner there. So I'm going to ignore what I've built so far and trust in the principles of clean code that I'll be able to get eventually to the right data structure after I've built actual features. And the first feature I'd like to build is the ability to manage servers running at the server hosting provider Hetzner. They are based in Germany and Finland. And most of our bare metal infrastructure runs in one of their data centers. So I'll try and basically re-implement their hosting dashboard in my application here, and we can go from there. So the basic resource will not be some kind of abstract resource that has resource types and things like that. I'll simply go ahead and build a Hetzner server, and I'll go from there. I'll probably have to make it more abstract later, because my Hetzner server might have a lot in common with a DigitalOcean droplet. They both have RAM and CPU capacity, they have an IP address and things like that. Of course, there is a huge overlap there, but let's make the decision how to model this when it needs to be decided and not before. Which means that I'll simply start by creating a new model, which I'll name Hetzner server. And since I'm running my development environment here in Docker using Docker Compose, I'll go ahead and use my DC alias, which is simply the short form for Docker Compose. DC exec app. Run the following command in my app container, and we'll do a Rails generate my a scaffold. and we'll call this scaffold Hetzner server, and it'll get a few initial attributes. Let's think of the attributes that I'll need initially. It has a server number, it has a server name, which is just a arbitrary name. It has at least an IP address, and it'll be both an IP version 4 and it also has IP version 6 addresses, so let's use IPv4 and IPv6. And I guess that's it. Here we go. And let's go ahead and run the migration. So we run Rails db migrate. I often have this problem. I tend to think too far and simply get out old experiences from where I had built stuff and then realized, okay, I should have built an abstraction and things like that. And then I simply try to preempt everything and build these things in advance. And the problem is that even though I have a bit of experience there, I simply can't predict the future, and it's hard to play things through in your head at a level of precision that allows you to make things right from the start. So it's much better to just go with the flow, see where it takes you, and on the way use clean code principles to allow you to restructure and refactor everything as you see fit. And that includes building tests and things like that, so that when we come to the point that I need to build an abstraction of a server or something like that, I'll already have the tests in place that I can build that and make sure that things will still be running okay. So it's simply a matter of the order of things. Okay, that was the migrations running. So we have things we need here. Actually, okay. Oh, I haven't run the migrations for the test database before, so it ran all the migrations because I started with a new database a few minutes ago. Okay, now let's see if we can access the servers. I should even be able to access this controller without logging in, but I'll log in anyway. So we'll use my example credentials, admin@example.com, admin123 to sign in, and I should be able to say Hetzner servers, and then here I can create a new Hetzner server. number 123, name test1 IPv4 1234 IPv6. We'll leave that empty. Create Hetzner server. Now I have a new server, and if I go back, it's displayed in the table. That's fine. Okay, so now to do something interesting, let's try and access the Hetzner API to pull in all our existing server records. So let me see. So there is a Hetzner API, and I guess it's the Hetzner Robot API. Yeah, the Robot Web Service, as they call it. And this API allows you to request the list of servers that you have running in their data centers, and among other things you'll get the server number, the server name, and the server IP address. Having the product would be interesting as well, and the data center. So let's add these first. Rails, generate migration, add attributes to Hetzner server, namely the product and the data center. Should we include the status as well? Yeah, makes sense. So status is a string, data center is a string, product is a string. Okay. Product, status, and data center. I just realized I haven't tested my sound levels before, so if my mic or music levels aren't okay, please give me some feedback and I'll try and change that. Okay, so run migrations again. The nice thing is there actually is, I think there is a Ruby gem Hetzner web service, something like that. It's a cloud API, that's not what I need. Let's see what gems there are. Otherwise I'll build my own. I guess that's what I need. Yeah, it's our API. That should allow me to query server. Yep. Good. So let's add Hetzner API to the gem file. 120. Okay. Jump file. Go. So first have to run bundle install. Is bundler. Part of the lock. No, it's not. Okay. Anyway, that's that. Now let's run the missing migration. Okay. Now, for actually providing the API access, I think I'm going to actually use an abstraction to simply hide the dependency here, and so I'll use a few service classes here. Services. And I call it Hetzner Server API. And I think that's the place where we require Hetzner API. And initialize. And now let's see how to actually spawn this Hetzner API new, and I need the username and the password. Okay. So I guess we'll use two instance variables here. And it looks like we don't have to pass them into You don't actually have to store them as attributes. Okay. I should run a bundle install locally as well. Otherwise I'll get error messages in code. And now we'll simply take a look at the API specs. So we have a server objects. Let me think. Should I use it? Objects here? I guess so. So to query our list of servers, I would simply call get server, and okay. Let's call this get server, and we can but don't have to pass in a server ID, server number, I guess. Oh, the IP address, huh? Yeah. It actually identifies servers by its IP address, okay. And now we can simply delegate that to the API object. So, let me see, where is the server section? Here we go. And so if I simply call servers, then I'll get the list of servers. Not sure how to structure this. Server. So obviously this has an API for server with a IP address, and it uses question marks, even though the result isn't Boolean. That's very strange. Strikes me as a bit strange here. Let's see how this is actually implemented. servers gives you a list of all servers, I guess, yeah. And server with an IP address gets you this specific server. It's a bit ugly, but let's build a method that simply gets the list of servers here. Okay. Testing this will also be a bit complicated, but it's important to get this right. New folder, services. We get a Hetzner server API spec. Server API. Also have to do a few things here. Style violations here. Okay. And we'll have to find a way to pass in the username and the password. I guess we'll use environment variables for that. So use Hetzner API. API user. Oops, just Hetzner server API. Password secret. And then we could use these. This line is already getting too long, so set it up. That way I don't have to pass in the credentials. I need this comment in here as well. There's extensions that can help with .n files. I'm not sure why I would need an extension that deals with .n files, but I'll have a look later. Okay. So. We'll make this a private method. So that will allow us to mock this method. So let's describe the servers method here, and it returns a list of servers. We use the API, a double Hetzner server API. Ooh, I need to refresh my spec. Jobs. Our spec. Mock. Method stubs. To receive something and return something. Yep. Is it to receive? To and then receive, okay. Allow API to receive. Servers. And return list. And we could simply take the example here. then we'll start Hetzner API new. How does this work again? Aspect stub new method constructor. Oh yeah, of course. Jesus, I'm really a bit rusty. That's our API to receive new and return API. Okay, now we create a new server API object. Expect that's our server API servers to equal list. It's not a model, but let's make it the focus of the test suite. Oh, that's why. I'm working in the wrong file. You could have told me. Come on. Should be here. Okay, let's see what happens when we run this. Aspect spec, services, let's do server API spec. You can quit your heart, don't back up, don't back out. Let's okay, cut to this. As it already told me. Why is that? Ja. Rails hat was. Now it's loading the whole application. So code load such file Hetzner API. It's because the gem name is wrong. It's not. Or is it actually underscore API? Oh, it's Hetzner API. Oh, very strange. Oh! Need to. I'll try typing. Also formatting issues here. And yeah, especially since this is JSON and not Ruby. Oh, it could still work. Oh. Oops. Ooh, nice. Okay, so I'll probably have to replace the colons in here with arrows. No? Better. Okay. this shouldn't affect the test. Okay, that's nice. Now, let's fix the style issues here. That's a comma that needs to be added. Here we need a comma and here as well. Oh, and I accidentally. Nice. Okay, so now we get a list of basically server objects in terms of server API objects. Each of these array items is a hash representing a server object. And we could actually model them as objects. So we'd use something like module Hetzner server API, and we would have a class server in here that has these attributes. How did I just switch them? That's nice. Alt key. That's it's the alt key. Let's change the indentation here. Nope. How do I column toggle block command? No, selection. Switch to command, click for multi-cursor. That's not it. Oh, I just Control Shift and cursor. Oh yeah, nice. Okay. I should use an array here that gives us all the attribute names, defines the attributes dynamically, and then we can loop over this. So we call this attributes, and we make this a simple list of names. Then we can say attributes. How does this actually work? I can't remember. We define this from array. It's not relevant, but maybe. Define methods to something. That's not that. Element. Where did I use that recently? I think I used it in a chef cookbook. Let me see. Yeah. So I create an array of lists, freeze them, use this attribute names, and then I can use attribute names as an array and can actually fetch that stuff. Okay. this editor names, so names, and initialize that using instance variable set. And take this from the API hash. Let's name it result hash. So we could say server API servers, and then let's say server list map. Hetzner server API server new server. That should give us a list of server objects back, which means that our test will fail. Because we don't return the actual list. But we could do something like server1 equals API server API server new, passing this hash, and then we also have a server okay. It's a bit more complex than I thought. So what we'll get is, let me take a look at the API documentation again. We get an array. This array is an array of hashes that has a single element, namely server, and its value is the hash with the attributes. So we could even do a validation if you pass in something that's not a that doesn't have server as a key. That will work, but that's refinement for later. I go through each of the array elements, take the hash, access its server key, which will be the only key, and then I get the data back. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll use this crap. I need the list in the beginning. Because that's the API response. I'll also list 0 server. That should work, right? List 0 gives me this hash, and then I'll access its server key, and I'll get back a hash, which I'll pass to Hetzner server API server new, and I should get back an array with these two servers. Hey Croby Sour, I didn't see you there. Thanks for following and welcome to the stream. I really appreciate it. Finally, I have someone to talk to that I know by name. How you doing, mate? Let's see what I've done wrong. Hetzner server API is not a module, but it should be, shouldn't it? It's a class. Do I make it a module then, huh? We'll add a class. Happy that you found me. I hope you're interested in coding and DevOps and stuff. Well, you obviously are, since you followed. See, that's what I like Twitch for. These categories allow serendipity. My day's going great. It's getting dark outside, and I feel that I have a workday behind me. But yeah, since my tests are running fine-ish, I'm quite happy, and I still have 20 minutes to go on my stream here, so I guess I get this working within my time frame. Okay, tea, it's very important. So now I'm running into naming problems. If I name this abstract thing, this module Hetzner server API, how do I call the class that is the actual API access? Class, I'll call it request. You work in robots, that's interesting. Robots are amazing. Looking at the videos that Boston Dynamics puts out, we are really living in the future here. Okay, let's call this an API request, and then we can say, okay, then we'll have the server class. So now basic research with regard to AI and robotics in their environment. So it's basically the area Boston is in as well, I guess. Must be quite satisfying, because that's a very practical area of IT. You really get to see things. It's a bit like web development, where you can actually see how things work out, and even if it's something as complex as machine learning or things like that, you can still see if your models work and all that stuff, and how behavior improves or deteriorates and things like that. So yeah, I think I'd enjoy working in this area as well. How did you get into robots? Just about, though, they don't like to play nice with others in the field. With other robots, you mean? Yeah, but they're quite self-centered oftentimes, and they don't expect other robots to cross their paths, I guess. A lot of development works on all the OSI levels. Yeah, yeah, since you're dealing with hardware, basically. It's 1 to 7, buddy. 1 to 7. The electrical engineering in these machines is amazing as well, but I wouldn't want to work in that area because, yeah, I tend to be clumsy around hardware. I still have scars all over my fingers from the times when I built my own PCs and stuff like that, and had to replace sound cards and graphics cards and all that stuff, and all the time you were dealing with sharp metal edges and stuff like that. Well, other research groups, I mean, okay. Yeah, I can imagine that stuff is pretty bleeding edge, and people tend to guard their secrets, don't they? Okay, let's get this running. I need I need that success today. It's not. Yeah, well, that's this, and that's the new class name. Let's see how this works. At the moment, I'm not doing quite full stack. It's mostly coding at the moment, but as soon as I have something working here, and with being able to import stuff from the actual provider, I'll be able to run this as a production application, even though it doesn't do much. And then we'll get into deployment and that stuff as well. Your background was actually in biometrics and machine learning. Okay, so you did study machine learning and these things. They didn't offer these things back in my day. I was looking for a research position and it happened to be in robotics. Yeah, sounds amazing. Okay, now this actually, yeah, of course. Yeah, I made a rookie mistake here. I can't expect to receive the actual array of my two self-made server objects here, because what the API created here and what I'm creating here will be different in their internal representations. So what I should do is I'll call this servers, and then I'll expect servers first to equal server 1. That should work, shouldn't it? Because now we are comparing on an object level. Let's see if I'm right. No, it'll still fail, I guess. How do I... Yeah, so I got Hetzner API server, but obviously a different representation, a different instance of this class, and it's compared using equals. I could also simply check the server attributes. First, server num. That's even an object, so I should be able to use server number as an attribute method, and that should equal 123, I guess. No, 321. Server number 321. And the second server number should be 421, but not as a string. It should be an actual number. That way we don't have to... Okay, now... Oh yeah. Okay, I don't even need to generate this if I don't want to. Okay, that doesn't work. Maybe I should do some debugging here. Servers inspect. The school didn't have a machine learning program either. Graduated right around the time machine learning started to get very popular. Yeah, I can imagine that machine learning is the hot topic at this moment. So let's see. We'll get a Hetzner API server, but everything is nil. That's of course not what we're expecting here. Why is everything nil? Let's use bybug here. Do some actual debugging, because I'm also interested in how this turns out here. Server creating this server from an array element. Oh yeah, I see. I didn't. Server. So let's call this result. Otherwise it's completely gibberish. Okay, so now we could take a look at server 1. Okay, that's actually also... Oh, of course, because these are symbols and the API actually returns words. So I'll have to fetch K to S. Let's give this another try. But this in combination should work if I simply pass in the server element of the result of the array element and use string keys. Let me see, server 1, yeah, was parsed okay. And servers was parsed okay as well. So servers first is a valid server object and is servers. Let me see, what do I check here? Servers first, server number. Yes, worked. So we don't actually need these two. And having this list in here is very ugly. So I'll factor this out into a method. Hetzner API server list. Naming is hard, man. Return this from here. And if you heard that, that's my son turning on the lights. Let me see. There's some weird indentation here. Oh yeah. So list equals Hetzner API server list. Actually use this here. Now this test is much more readable. Not sure about having this function outside the whole RSpec thing. Let's see if this works. It does. Nice. Okay, so that's nice. I actually forgot one thing that I always do normally at the beginning of my stream, which is create an issue and a Git branch referencing that issue. So it's high time I do that. I'll say import Hetzner servers. And simply write it as a user story. As a user, I'd like to import server information from Hetzner so I can manage them in Jupyter or in the app. That's going to be an enhancement, definitely. I'll assign myself. So that's issue number 13. And I'll reference that in the branch name, so I don't have to be too creative with the branch name, or we can always identify the issue from the leading number. Slayer Darth, you're back! Welcome! Nice to see you. Happy to see you. You haven't caught me at a bad time, but take a look at the clock, man. I'm just about to wrap up here. Why does it import my .env file? It shouldn't do that. That's really bad. It's not supposed to do that. I don't have anything sensitive in there yet, but oh yeah, I remember. I'm not supposed to do stuff in there. I'm supposed to do stuff in .env.local, right? So I'll simply take this out. .env should... What's the difference now? No new line at end of file. Wait, what? Oh, there wasn't a new line at the end of the file. Okay, here we go. So I'll have to create a .env.local, and that's actually git excluded, right? Or git ignored. .env.local, yeah, okay. I need to get used to that, because so far I didn't do it that way. How do I create a file on the root level? .env.local, and here I'll add my things. I could still add this here. I'll only have to overwrite it in my .local file, then makes sense to have everything as a reference in here. Okay. So we'll still add the .env file. If I didn't have a family, I could stream for longer. I like the way you're thinking. Maybe, but I'm not sure if my brain would agree, because I already felt that my cycles were slowing down. Add Hetzner server scaffold and import. Resolves number 13. So that's only the initial commit. Having a family sounds pretty rad. Yeah, well, it has its ups and downs, of course. But I really like being a family man. If you want me to stream for longer, I probably would have to switch to the morning, because that'll allow me a bit more brain power. At the end of the day, it's often hard to think these things through, even though I'm pretty happy about what I've achieved today. I got my first working implementation, even though I haven't tried actually accessing the API, but that's something I'll do offline anyway, using my actual credentials and stuff. And let's see if I can get a real server list back. And then we'll build the actual import into the database next time when I'm back on Thursday. Obviously my streaming software is holding up. And so yeah, let's wrap it up. I'll push this so you can actually see what I've built here. You can see this on my GitHub page. It's the repository /gviz/Jupyter. Yes, you feel me. Evening drain and burnout is a personal struggle as well. Yeah, I feel both. It's hard to focus at the end of a day if you have done a lot of focusing before, if you have been doing that. And I also actually had to deal with burnout over the recent weeks. Even though my job is a great job and I'm really happy about what I'm doing, it gets stressful at times, especially with unexpected stuff. And so I really need to find a balance between getting some stuff done and getting rest, which I'm going to do now, the latter, I mean. And so thanks for working with me here. I hope I'll see you back on Thursday at 3:30 p.m. British Standard Time and Irish Standard Time. Don't forget to follow the stream if you haven't yet. And until then, as Slayer just said it, take care.